And finally, as part of version 5.0, we also support relationship management. So this Clearwater Holdings golden record relates to or is the account of multiple golden person records. So in this here, if I go to Stephen Harris, for example, I can click that record and it's going to pull up a new tab of Stephen Harris's golden record profile. We can see the profile is fairly similar to the organization layout. It's taking advantage of struct and array data types or reference data management for standardizing gender codes coming in. And we can see, again, in the potential matches section, any source records that may have match merged to Stephen Harris. And on the flip side for relationships, we will see that Stephen Harris is a contact of that Clearwater Holdings golden record that we saw before. Can briefly go over to show what setting up a relationship is like. For example, if I go to relationships here, I can see the previously configured relationship I set up between the person and the organization. If I go to create a relationship right here, I can do the same thing. I'm choosing my source entity that's already been mastered, and I'll do the same thing. Person, selecting organization, and I can give this relationship a name. Let's say employed by. You can choose the cardinality here if this is meant to be a strict one-to-one relationship, one-to-many, many-to-one, or many-to-many. I can set this to be bidirectional, and I can give the labels as they relate to the relationship between the entities. So the forward label would be works for, and the reverse label would be employer of. I can create that relationship after I give this name an underscore. And now I have this relationship set up. I can add additional attributes to this relationship, such as employment status. Assign a data type there, or even employment date, for example, just to give a little bit more information to that relationship between the two. And if there's multiple values that you want to bring into that attribute, you can go to this map datasets tab right here to add the mapping. And this essentially creates the relationship itself. So you're pointing to your source data, such as the source primary key of your person data. So CRM contacts, let's do ERP contacts as the data set. This is the data set that holds the person data, and it's asking for the source primary key of this data set, which would be my source ID here. And then the target primary key would be the ID that sits on that table that gives us that relationship between the person and the organization. So I know from looking at that data that if I scroll down and go to the company ID, this table holds the relationship, that employment relationship between the person and the organization record. And down here, like I said, if you have those additional attributes that you set up, you can map in data into those. And same for this piece, but both of these are optional. And once you have that data mapped in, similar to reference data, you can go to the integration hub and you can create a task of loading your relationships. I will give this a name here, employee to employer relationship load. And the driving entity is going to be that first one that we had related to the second entity, and that'd be person. We have two relationships set up for person. I want to load this particular one, or actually this particular one, box4, that we just set up, and then I can hit save. And then also, just like the reference entity loading job, this will be set up as a Databricks job that we can see here, and I can click this button to go to the corresponding Databricks job that is just set up to load that relationship. And then once that completes, we can go back to what we saw near the beginning of this video, where if I go to organization, for example, and I go back to the master records, I'll be able to see the relationships that we just saw show up on the golden record profile. Company name contains Clearwater. And I'll see those relationships show up between the organization to the person on this relationships tab.